Welcome back to Nuclear News, where we're diving through the fundamentals of the financial assets tied to the burgeoning nuclear fuel industry, which is going through a renaissance. So first up, we have this from Trade Tech President Treva Klingbeil, showing that uranium term sales have seen a massive uptick. 2022 term sales, 120 million pounds, huge year for uranium and just getting started because the demand for uranium is going through the roof, right? Here is just a glimpse, obviously massive projections from countries all across the world, millions of pounds. 2023, we're under 200 million pounds of uranium, and that's supposed to just continue growing. And just so you understand how tightly correlated nuclear power plants are to the underlying fuel. Another interesting tidbit dropped by Trade Deck Treva at today's uranium webinar was that California's PG&E are now in the market trying to secure 6 million pounds of uranium fuel to fuel the recently saved Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant, as they don't have enough fuel on hand. So one power plant requiring 6 million pounds of fuel this year, right? Remember, all around the world, we're looking at 200 million a year. So whenever one of these plants comes online, it's actually a massive driver for the uranium fuel. So now let's dive through what is really going on long-term in this space. The Nuclear Energy Institute head came out and said this is the biggest moment for nuclear energy since the dawn of the atomic age. Everywhere we look, we're seeing demand surging. When we talk about demand for nuclear, we're talking about the future of the planet, the future that our children will inherit. And then you have massive adoption around the world. Alliance calls for greater uranium support for nuclear. Nuclear could provide up to 150 GWEs of generating capacity by 2050 in the European Union, according to a statement issued by 16 European countries following a meeting in Paris with the European Commissioner. The so-called Nuclear Alliance called on the European Commission to recognize nuclear energy in the EU's energy strategy and relevant policies. You have France, the host country, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Estonia, Finland, Hungary, the Netherlands, Poland, the Czech Republic, Romania, Slovenia, Slovakia, and Sweden, plus Italy with observer status. The UK was also present as a guest. And so we're continuing to see the mass adoption of nuclear power. Partly because the world is waking up to stories like this. Nuclear power helps bring down electricity prices by 75% in Finland. They deal with a lot of hydropower and wind in their energy mix, but we have had more stability in the system because of OL3. It's a huge nuclear plant, one of the biggest in the world, connected to a small system. It has its own risks, which we are happy to follow up on, said the chief executive. So what's happening is nuclear power is stabilizing the grid. Finland has lots of natural resources for energy, wind, hydropower, but they're using nuclear. A lot of countries don't have those natural resources, and they need to rely on it heavily. But at the end of the day, they have dirt cheap energy in Finland because of nuclear power. Massive. And so we have a wall of money just streaming into this space. The United States and multinational public-private partners look to provide up to $275 million to advance the Romania small nuclear reactor project. The United States issues letters of interest for up to $4 billion in project financings. Together with new pledges by Romania, these commitments demonstrate the power of multinational cooperation and public-private partnership on transformative infrastructure projects that will move forward uranium's leading-edge SMR project based on the U.S. firm NuScale Power LLC technology. So it's a U.S. firm, NuScale. This is why we're still in the early stages, because the technological infrastructure is brand new. It hasn't even started rolling out, right? And so eventually the resource that's going to fuel this stuff will be valuable. That's uranium. You do have companies like NuScale Power, revolutionary, obviously the US pumping money into supporting it. NuScale Power and Nucor Corporation signed memorandum of understanding to explore deployment of small modular reactors to power Nucor electric arc furnace steel mills. Nucor is a massive steel company. Just so you know what's going on with this asset, let's just take a look at the chart of NuScale. Down, gotta love this. Market cap 1.8 billion. So again, still in the early stages. The market has not woken up to what is going on. And so the reality of what's going on is small modular reactors are going to be located wherever energy is needed affordably. We know dense nuclear is, and it's going to be powered by fission, right? And so there's brand new technology. Japan's Onamichi dockyard leads $80 million bet on floating nuclear plants. UK startup know-how in modular reactor tech attracts investments. Again, lots of R&D, just getting started in the mass adoption of this technology, floating SMRs. And that's not even close to the biggest story. The Pentagon is helping bring the next generation of nuclear technology to life. The first small modular reactor commissioned by the Defense Department could roll off the assembly line of a Virginia-based factory in just 2 years, right? Not a lot of investors realizing what's going on. And so not a lot of investors are positioned for when this technology truly rolls out. Well, on the supply side, we're starting to see one of the biggest sources of above ground uranium, Russia, Eastern uranium, start to get constrained. So there's a hidden backroom deal with Kazakhstan mining giant Kazatomprom as the Kazakh Sovereign Wealth Fund pushed a sale of 49% stake in major new uranium mine to Russia's Rosatom. And so what's happening is this massive source of uranium is cozying up to Russia. Without this source of uranium, everything would shut down. They're a huge supplier. And since they're cozying up with Russia, it's just going to constrain this resource in the West because countries are trying to move away from Russia actively. New UK sanctions on Russian energy to include Rosatom and nuclear energy. UK is trying to ban uranium. And then in the US, a bill that would block uranium imports from Russia into the US advanced in a Senate panel Wednesday, a day after a House subcommittee approved companion legislation. This would prohibit imports of low-enriched uranium from Russia or any Russian entity beginning 90 days after enactment. The legislation also would grant a waiver to the Secretary of the Energy Department to allow reduced amounts of uranium from Russia through 2027 if necessary to sustain nuclear reactors in the US. So obviously it is necessary. So what this is going to have to do is spike the price of uranium if they actually do end up sanctioning Russia. It seems like they're going to allow a little bit in. The bottom line is that the above ground supply of uranium is getting scarcer and the demand is growing exponentially. This discussion is for informational purposes only. Please consult a certified financial planner when making any decisions about investing. And do your own research before making any decision. Investments are risky and you can lose lots of money in them.